Hello, and welcome to the show Gold Squadron Gays. It's the podcast where two Star Wars loving gays break down each episode of their favorite Star Wars TV shows while also being gay as hell. I'm your host, Bradley Brower.
I'm your other host, Charles Rogers, and welcome to the final episode of Gold Squadron Gays. Not only have we peaked with this episode of television, but Bradley, I don't know if you saw this, but Game of Thrones is getting a sequel series. So unfortunately, that does mean we will end our Star Wars coverage and go back to being Game of Thrones podcasters. We're going to get in on that market early before the boom returns.
I feel like you're overhyping this because that's like what people are doing with Avatar 2. They're overhyping, and it's like the delivery is not going to be what you want, guys. Like, it's not going to redeem the first one.
Well, all we know about the sequel series that's reportedly in development, so the Hollywood Reporter reported on it, it's about Jon Snow. Really?
The least interesting person in the whole entire show.
Right? Arya is right there.
Brienne of Tarth is right there.
Spoilers for Game of Thrones. Don't watch the past back 2 seasons of Game of Thrones. Just read the Wikipedia. But like Arya's right there. She's right there. And Maisie Williams isn't doing anything. Pay her a boatload of money and let her... No, this is not our final episode of Gold Squadron Games. We have other Star Wars to do. It's just weird because I was so into Game of Thrones. I was one of those people that was like super into it. I also didn't hate season 8 as much. So it ended and I was like,
there's 8 seasons.
That was bad. There's 8 seasons. Did you know they made 8 seasons of Game of Thrones, Bradley?
So weird. I genuinely thought it was like 5 or 6.
No, it's 8. They made 8.
That's wild.
There was
I've seen it all.
7 and stuff happened in it.
Interesting.
Yes, we previously established in one of our most popular TikToks, which should be returning with this episode, that you have in fact seen all of Game of Thrones. All right. Well, we don't have any news. I think we're close to hashing out a schedule for Andor and Bad Batch, but we're not quite ready to announce that yet. His eyes just rolled, listeners, straight up into the back of his head.
I mean, if Lucasfilm would just get their shit together and just release Andor, or honestly start with Bad Batch, just release Bad Batch right after Kenobi finale, just the next week, just do it.
I wish that
it would have taken us through the whole entire summer.
I wish we had gone the Dark Side Divas or the First Steps route of just watching it in chronological order and not having to worry about this shit. Because I swear to God, listeners, peek behind the curtain. We talk about scheduling. As far as production goes, obviously Bradley and I talk about a lot of things outside of the show, but as far as production for the show goes, solid 80% of the conversations we have are about scheduling and trying to figure out the schedule. It's bliss. It's batshit. It's insane. Well, we don't have any news, and I won't want to call this a thing Charles fucked up. That would be incorrect. It would more like a thing Charles said and the new information came out. In episode 2, identified the droid bounty hunter as Forlom. A lot of people identified the droid bounty hunter as Forlom. They recently released a, was it Black Series figurine, Bradley?
Yeah,
that gave us who that actually is. It's not Forlom. It's a character named One Jack. So there's my correction. Again, I'm not going to call it a thing Charles fucked up. I can't be blamed for that one. I'm absolving myself of the responsibility for that one.
Because everybody else did the same mistake.
Everybody else did the same thing. I would normally say here, Bradley, you want to take us into the episode, but I think we actually want to address some stuff that happened before the episode.
Yeah, I guess the first thing that would have popped up would have been a trigger warning.
Yes, there is an actual content warning on this, which Good job. I was a little surprised to see it. And then when I saw it, I immediately went, I know what's going to happen this episode.
Same. I know
what we're about to see. But it was good because I was kind of bracing for it. And then when it happens, we'll get to what it is done in such a way that is genuinely horrifying. And so I was glad to have a bit of warning that, hey, you're going to watch this in this episode. I do think it could have been a little more specific.
Again, it was like very vague.
If you've seen the first 4 episodes, you probably know what's coming, but maybe could be a little more specific. Although I know, Bradley, you want to talk about the logo.
Yes. Okay. So wait, I have two sets of notes here. I have notes about just the episode,
Christ.
and then I have notes about the opening. So
Jesus Christ, Bradley.
let's twirl it back to the first episode we covered, part one, where we talked about the new Star Wars logo opening, right? It's always different for every show.
They always change it all the time.
Right. So I want to talk about something I noticed that was weird.
Okay.
So as far as I knew, part one, part two, and part three, I didn't really think anything of it because I always skip the logos the second time I watch the episode. You know what I mean? If I'm going to watch episode 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I'll just skip the logos. It doesn't matter.
Right.
And the recaps. Because I know it. I literally just watched it the week before.
I literally just watched the show. Yeah.
Exactly.
I saw what happened.
So I'd been skipping the intro until 5. And I was like, I noticed the Star Wars logo was different.
Yes.
They changed it. And I was like, that's weird. Let me go back and watch and see when they changed it. So episodes are part 1, 2, and 3 all have the same Star Wars logo opening. It starts with R2D2. And remember we said it had the armor and stuff and the mouse droid. And we thought that was weird. And it ends with Darth Vader. Then in part 4, they change it. And to what it probably should have been before, like on the first episode, because it has new characters in it. It starts with Ned B, which is really awesome. The second thing, I took a picture of it because I had no fucking clue what this second thing was. I thought it was a grill, like an outdoor grill. And it's some kind of droid. Do you know what it is? Because I have no idea.
Jesus. I'll
show you a picture of it.
Please drop in our chat. Please drop a picture and I will take a look at it. I'm
doing that right now. You are going to be like, what the actual F is this stupid thing? I swear to you, I thought it was, I literally thought it was like a barbecue. Like, I was like, what is this? What in the fuck is that? It's like a kitchen sink or something. Oh, I know what that is. Please share. The Gonk droid from episode 1. What? You can kind of see the Gonk droid down below. It's the one with the punch card. Oh, it's the punch card. It's the punch card droid. Oh my! It's the punch card droid. Okay, but see, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, so the first droid is Ned B, and then this one is the punch card droid. I was so weird. Okay. Yep. I'm glad we have that. It makes sense. Okay, so that was the second thing that was weird. And then it's regular characters up until the second to last one. There's Lola. Yes. As one of the characters. And then it ends on Vader. So they all end on Vader, which is interesting. And both of them have C-3PO and R2-D2 in them, which is also weird. That tracks. That was 5 minutes on the logo. Okay, yeah, I know. I'm sorry. Before the episode. But I thought it was weird that they changed it halfway through. Bradley, you are literally the only person that watches these logos. I need you to clearly, because I had to watch it myself to figure this information out. I couldn't look it up. It's not like on Wikipedia as like a trivia. They're putting things in there directly for you. They're fucking with you with this logo. This is for you. You're the only person that watches them. Anyway, all that to say is the second version of it makes more sense for this show because it has actual characters from the show in it. Yeah, they really probably should have just started with that. Yeah, it was so. I'm wondering if they changed it for a reason. I think because they had revealed all the characters at that point. I think that's exactly what it was. Episode 3, and then for episode 4, they were just like, "Oh, there you go." Yeah, I think that's what it was. Anyway, let's get into it because let's get into the episode because we're going to be here for a while. Right. This week we're going to talk about part 5 of Kenobi. This week the Empire is closing in on Kenobi. Reva's true intentions are revealed. Members of the Path are lost during the battle, and Kenobi escapes Darth Vader for now. Charles, what is one thing you liked, and only one thing you liked about this episode? And what is one nitpick that you of this episode? I'm glad you said one nitpick instead of one thing you dislike. Yeah, because I don't know if you can really pick something. The cinematography in this episode was a man. I would let that man do unspeakable things to me. This show is so pretty and so creative in its use of camera angle, in its use of reflection, in its use of cuts, the directing, Deborah Chow, anything you want, any project you want after this, you should be able to get. Because this was immaculate. This was direction. This was direction through the medium of film. Like, there's directors who can direct actors really well.
but maybe their shot composition isn't that interesting. There's directors who can shoot a really interesting movie, but maybe their actors aren't giving the best performance. Everything about this, immaculate. The direction of the actors, perfect. The cinematography, perfect. The shot choices, perfect. Shout out to whoever's the cinematographer, whoever's doing the lighting on this. Shout out to you. Fantastic. And so fucking, there's two specific shots, and one in particular that I will point out as maybe being my favorite shot in all of Star Wars.
Ooh.
Good God, this episode is a feast for the eyes. The one nitpick I'm going to have about this episode, and I am going to invoke the rare card of no.
Like you almost did last week, but then you're like, oh, wait,
I almost did last week. And I picked one specific shot that I thought the cape was no, nothing. This beginning to end, maybe we'll find something over the course of the episode that I'm like, what's going on here? But no, I have nothing. Like I try to be fair and balanced on this show, and my fair and balanced looking at it is I can't come up with anything. See, because like I wanted to say when I first watched the episode on my phone, because I watched it on my phone initially, I wanted to say, oh, there wasn't enough stormtroopers. Then I watched the episode on my computer screen and I was like, oh, there's actually a fuckload of stormtroopers. Yeah. Oh my God. What the fuck was I on about? No, I have nothing. Bradley, one thing you liked and one thing you didn't.
I really like that we got Reva's character growth / backstory in this episode. I knew it was coming and I wasn't prepared. Because I thought I pretty much knew the story, which we were pretty 99% correct about her story to an extent. And
there is one person, and I will shout them out when we get to it. There is one person who was correct about what was going on with Reva. I have back listened to all of my podcasts. So all 10 podcasts, Star Wars podcasts that I actually have time to listen to. I have back listened to them all. And there is one podcast that called it. But other than that, yeah.
Yeah, we were pretty sure, but I liked it.
A lot of people very quickly. Well, and somebody pointed out, I can't remember who it was on TikTok, because people have been dunking on the same guy correctly because he's a moron. Well, maybe he's just inexperienced at this sort of thing, because there is a difference between being a fanboy and having an opinion and having an opinion that's like good. But one of the things that was pointed out in the dunking was part of the issue with some of the criticism of the show was that people didn't know the difference between like something to critique and something you just needed to be patient about. And when they pointed to the Reva knows who Vader is in episode 2, and they're like, nope, plot hole. She shouldn't know that. The black lady shouldn't know that, which is really what they were saying. No, if you just kept watching,
they literally told you exactly how she knows.
They literally told you. Oh, you know who had the best take that I'd seen today? It was Gingers or Plants. When they said something to the effect of, the way the show is designed, it is designed that Reva knowing who Vader was is the sort of thing that it was intended for people to theorize about. You were supposed to look at that and you were supposed to say, wow, how does she know who Vader is?
Right.
Let's come up with theories. The problem is this criticism is bad faith. She didn't make this point. I'm making this point. The problem is the criticism was bad faith. But then she makes the point that there were issues where people were being like, that is a plot hole. And then the conversation was around, is this a plot hole? Not how does Reva know who Vader is? That was a tangent. Bradley, please continue with the thing you liked and the thing you did not.
The thing I did not like, and again, this is a total nitpick. This is something that like it did not actually bother me. So I want to preface by saying it was not that big a deal. Had they had another month or two or something like that, then this is something you could theoretically fix and or would not change it for me. It would just be like a nice,
I know what you're about to say, and I'm going to fight you about it.
Okay. I did not like Anakin flashbacks taking place before episode 2 because I didn't think they did a good enough job to making him look younger.
We're going to come back to that in a second because I am going to disagree with you on that. And I'm going to explain why I think they didn't do that.
Okay. I mean, that was, again, this is a nitpick. This is something where I'm like, I viscerally know what Anakin looks like in Attack of the Clones because that was the movie that I watched the most. And I know what he looks like in Attack of the Clones. I know how young he is. in that movie and to know how old he is now playing the same basically age. It's
not,
it's a nitpick.
It's not you saying this is a problem. It's you saying this is a mild bit of cognitive dissonance for me.
Yes. It's just, it's tiny. Like it is a minuscule problem. Cause again, every time they went back to the flashbacks, I was like, I was in it. Like I got it. You know what I mean? It was just that something about it. I was like, why doesn't he look just a tad younger? Like it's just something in my brain where I know what he's supposed to look like. And so I was like, whatever. Anyway, it's not a big deal.
We'll get to that when we get into the episode. So why don't you go ahead and take us into the episode, because it's literally my second note.
Absolutely. Our story begins with a flashback of Kenobi meeting with his Padawan, Anakin Skywalker, where the two have a sparring match. In the present, Reva is promoted to Grand Inquisitor for finding Kenobi's location on Jabim. Meanwhile, Kenobi and crew meet up with Haja on Jabim, who is now on the run from the Empire.
Yeah, Anakin fucking Skywalker.
I mean,
I as an ardent Attack of the Clones not enjoyer very much.
Yeah.
I love that they picked before Attack of the Clones.
Yes.
Love it.
Why?
Because it would have been so easy to do the Clone Wars. Because the Clone Wars is the popular show. Everybody loves, the Anakin from the Clone Wars. Yeah. And they didn't do that. They let Hayden go back and play the same role that he played 20 years ago, which I thought was an excellent choice. Now, as far as the de-aging, because they don't de-age him in this. That's just him. Here's why I am fine with that. Hayden Christensen was criticized heavily for decades for the performance he gave as Anakin Skywalker, particularly in Attack of the Clones. People were always coming for him like he's a bad actor, he doesn't know how to act, the character sucks, the dialogue is wooden. A lot of it was blamed on him. Had they gone in and smoothed out the lines a little bit in him, there's a good chance that they would have muted some of that performance. And I think they wanted to just give Hayden a chance to play that role. No alterations, no trying to mask him, no making it look like Luke at the end of Mando season 2. Just Hayden, here is your chance to play this character, to play this role. We're not going to do anything to you. We're going to let the strength of Hayden's acting take you back to where he was 20 years ago. And I'll be damned if the mad fucking hermit didn't pull it off. Didn't come back 20 years later and pull it off. Because that's really Anakin fucking Skywalker.
It was honestly, okay, to start the episode like this, first of all, probably the strongest opening that like gave you a visceral reaction. Because just seeing him on screen, his actual face, he wasn't burned, he wasn't in a tank, he wasn't barely covered, mostly covered with Darth Vader armor, and then just the bottom of his chin is visible. You know what I mean? Like we got to see him on screen for the first time, and you're just like,
the camera, like it was on Coruscant, and the camera pulled back, and I was like, no fucking way.
I was shook.
No fucking way. Oh my god, no, and Mullet Obi-Wan also made a return.
That was great. It was cute.
Mullet Obi-Wan was back. Some people have claimed that Anakin is looking at Padme's apartment. I checked it. I disagree. It is the same room as the, I believe, is the Order 66 flashback at the beginning.
Someone did point that out to me, and I was like, oh, well, that makes this more interesting.
Well, it's clearly a training room. Like,
and
that's
also,
what
it's like they're only going to build one set. You know what I mean? They're not going to build.
They only have one set. They might as well build one really good set, and it's a really good set.
And it's lit differently both times, so it does look different. Like it's not, the night and day thing. Like I barely recognized it was the same room.
Hayden Christensen, congratulations on just everything. Like I had said before the series started, I was like, one thing I'm really excited for is to see Hayden Christensen play Anakin with a good director, because George Lucas, for all the things I can praise him for, he cannot direct actors for shit. And he just tells the actors what to do and expects them to do it. Mm-hmm. And I knew that Deborah Chow would be able to pull something out of Hayden, even in just these short scenes. He is embodying Anakin so well. The cockiness, the bravado, the aggression that's eventually going to come out, and that's why I'm fine with the fact they didn't de-age him.
All that to say.
All that to say, that's why I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Just, it's Hayden Christensen coming back to say fuck you to 2 decades of fans who told him his acting sucked. And I'm frankly here for that. Yeah, Reva gets promoted to Grand Inquisitor.
Which, now in the context of looking back at the episode, was a scam.
This was the moment I knew that she wasn't long for this position, or she wasn't long for this status quo. Because the minute he was like Grand Inquisitor, I was like, I
was like, that's suspicious.
Oh yeah,
that's weird.
He wouldn't have promoted her to Grand Inquisitor if he weren't being a dick about it.
That's exactly what I thought. I was like, this was like not even a practical joke, but like in the sense that this is like just being, again, cruel. Like he's just coming up with a way to be that much more evil. He's like, I'm going to give you the title that you've always wanted. And then immediately,
we think she always wanted.
Right.
So pen in that. We think watching this scene that she's getting what she wants. We think her ambition is to be the Grand Inquisitor. But what in context he's really saying is, let me let you get close to me.
So I can really tell if my
what I know is about to happen happens. Shout out to Natalie Holt's score. Like it really came through for me in this episode. Like the bit where it's landing, where the ships are landing, or no, it's the first transport that come in is where this note was. Just the score in this is really good. It's still Star Warsy, but it's kind of different, but it's not as different as like the Mandalorian was. We don't have any like EDM techno beats.
There's no, like when the purge troopers attack the base, he's like, nope, there's no techno beat to attack the base right now.
Yeah, just shout out Natalie Holt. Great job. Haja is back.
I was not expecting to see him again.
He was not a 1-episode character. He was back. Kumail Nanjiani is being the comic relief and playing the Kumail Nanjiani character. And
I mean, yeah, he got like a minuscule C line or a C story, like, but you know what? Whatever.
Yep. He also got to be somewhat important to the plot at the end of the episode.
That's right. So there you go.
Yeah. Also, a couple of minor details about this sequence. So when Leia's ushered off to the side, so Obi-Wan can talk to Roken. She goes and talks to Corran, the little boy from episode 2, who is our Legends Easter egg.
Okay.
So Corran Horn is in this again. I have learned in the interim that Michael A. Stackpole, who created the character of Corran Horn, is aware of this little Easter egg and was delighted by it, apparently. So that was cool. Eli Vanto win. It shouldn't be difficult.
2023 because
Eli Vanto
Thrawn shows up.
Eli Vanto in
Ahsoka, yeah.
Oh my god! I'm fucking terrified that like Thrawn's going to show up in like as the big bad of the Mandalorian stuff, and the Eli will be nowhere to be seen. Arlani will never be mentioned. They will.
That's your biggest fear.
That's my biggest fear right now. That is my biggest fear right now. Is no Eli Vanto in the Mandalorian timeline. Truly, I am terrified. I mentioned last time Christina Ariel had a cameo. She is also on set for this. So you can see her in the background, most notably at the end of the episode. She's sitting next to Leia. So once again, shout out to Christina Ariel, the host of the High Republic show. She's badass and you should follow her on Twitter. A couple of more notes with this sequence. So Obi-Wan tells Roken that we'll do whatever we can to help, which is great because that's where his character arc is right now. You remember Obi-Wan in episode 1 was like, absolutely not. Yeah, I'm not going to do shit.
Yeah,
I'm not going to do shit. And now he's like, yeah, we'll do anything we can to help you. I also like that he's gradually becoming more Jedi-like. Like in the physical like clothes that he is wearing. He kind of changes into a Jedi like robe in episode 4 and now he's just wearing the full-on robe.
While Vader approaches Jabim, the reprogrammed Lola hacks the electrical system of the Jabim base and traps the group by sealing the hangar door. Kenobi realizes the Empire is coming and Vader plans to attack. Flashback to our fight again, where during the training session, Anakin advances aggressively. Back in the present, Kenobi gathers the refugees to begin preparing for a fight.
So the shot of Vader looking out at hyperspace is fucking incredible.
I love that visual anyway, like of hyperspace. Like when you're on the ship, it's different from the lights. Like when you first take off, the lights going is like interesting, but then when you're in hyperspace, that bluish whatever is just amazing.
Well, we've also seen that shot before. That shot of somebody looking out a window. We've seen it in Clone Wars season 7 when Ahsoka does it. And here's a teaser to listen to it. This will not be the last nor the biggest time that Ahsoka Tano is referenced in this episode. There is a major Ahsoka Tano nod that we will get to. However, speaking of nods, we get another wall with some more Aurebesh on it. You want to know what the Aurebesh says, Bradley?
It says Kenobi season 2 coming 2024. Just kidding. That would be hilarious though.
So there's not a lot of really fun Easter eggs in this one. We do get another for Light and Life. This one's really hard to translate because it's not. I didn't translate it, but a few people, somebody in the Dark Side Divas Discord translated a good bit of it. Gingers Are Plants on TikTok translated a good bit of it. So we do get a for Light and Life. We do get the names of some obscure Legends Jedi, some more initials, vague. One thing that I realized that was really funny was that Kenobi actually, the line he delivers is not the line that is written in Aurebesh. There's some slight differences, which is just slightly funny to me because congratulations, Bradley. Obi-Wan Kenobi also can't read.
Well, to be fair, no one in Star Wars can technically read. Like they just know what symbols mean. So that's my going with because there's no paper in Star Wars.
What's more interesting to me, and I didn't have time to do this because I sort of ran through it very quickly. He looks at a bunch of lightsabers in a box.
Ah, yes.
The implication being that like Jedi have reached a beam, and we know from previous episodes that what they do is they get new identities. They drop their lightsabers off. And I would have been curious to know if we recognize any of the lightsabers.
You know, I thought they weren't. I thought they were going to just put the Galaxy's Edge lightsabers in that box and be like, "Yeah, these are some real Jedi's lightsabers. Mm-hmm. You can also buy them for $299 at the Disney park near
you. $250. You're paying for the experience, and it is worth the money.
That's right.
The lightsaber isn't, but the experience sure is. I do want to cross-reference those at some point. If we remember from the Bad Batch, I went fucking insane trying to identify the lightsaber. Right. I will probably do the same thing eventually. Maybe in time for a recap, I will take that shot and I will cross-reference lightsabers. I don't know a lightsabers guy. I have a planets guy. I have a ships guy. I have a droids guy, but I don't have a lightsabers guy. I need to get a lightsabers guy. You know how everybody has like, you have a car guy, you have an appliances guy that you call.
Have a lightsaber guy.
I don't have a lightsaber guy. I need to get one. I will note, so another thing that almost was a nitpick, and then I went and rewatched the episode, was initially at the end when there's 2 transports, I thought it was some Rise of Skywalker bullshit, where they were like, oh, there was 2 transports in the desert the whole time. You actually consistently see the second transport in the background.
Good, because I thought like that.
They don't draw attention to it, but I thought that it was a bullshit thing that came out. No, if you watch the visual, as I tell my boyfriend constantly, you have to watch. There's visual storytelling, and the visual storytelling is there are 2 transports.
Gotcha.
So that was almost a nitpick, but then I rewatched the episode. I like that when the thing shuts and they're like, we must have been tracked. Do you know what there isn't in this, Bradley? There is not a scene where there's blame thrown around for it.
Huh.
Nobody's like, y'all led the people back here. You know, the girl's droid must have been reprogrammed. This is all a mistake. Wade died for nothing, yada, yada, yada. We didn't get that scene. It was immediate. They are here. We need to deal with it. And I love that. And
I forgot too, in the beginning, Roken does say, he's like, we literally waited for you guys. Like, we didn't go because we were waiting for you and Leia to come back. Like, just thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Why would they wait?
I liked that
I mean, other than plot, like why would in an actual
plot,
reason,
and also they're not dicks. Like they wanted to give them time to get back. And then everybody leaves on the transport together. But I did like that they did not have a sequence where like the heroes bicker over like whose fault it was. That it was like, no, the Empire's here. We need to deal with it. It's a very mature way to handle it. The fucking shot of Darth Vader looking out the window of his Star Destroyer at Jabim. And he's reflected in the window. And it looks like he is like ominously looming out of the darkness of space itself at Jabim. Might be my favorite shot in Star Wars. I love that fucking shot just because it's so beautifully crafted. So the bit where Obi-Wan is giving out orders and he's like, we could survive this. We have to work together. Yada, yada. I'm literally watching that. I'm going, that's General Kenobi. He is fully re-embraced being General Kenobi.
Gotta love that pre-finale character arc.
There's a character arc here.
Did you want to talk about the flashback at all? Or
I do not have any notes on this flashback.
Okay. Outside of the base, the Empire arrives with a battalion of stormtroopers and purge troopers, and they begin to bombard the door. Inside, Leia volunteers to investigate why the hangar won't open. Kenobi receives a message from Organa stating he will go to Tatooine to protect the boy if he doesn't hear from him soon. Tala confides in Kenobi about her past trauma with the Empire.
So Reva's fucking terrifying when she's like screaming at them to fire.
Yes,
and the gun.
We'll get to it in the next bit, but something about Reva doing that is it's so weird that she's like being like, why haven't you guys started firing yet? To cut to, she just uses the lightsaber to cut the door down by herself in 3 seconds. So it's like, why didn't she just do that to begin with?
Well, I mean, I imagine the thing probably weakened the door, is what happened.
So the thing
was able to weaken the structural integrity of the door enough that she could get her lightsaber through it. That is a blast door. That is a mining blast door.
Right.
That is intended. And what she does, she doesn't even cut through it necessarily. She cuts through it enough to slice the lock in half and then rips it apart with the Force.
I see. Okay.
Yes. So she's scary. Leia, so they're talking about like, what are we going to do? How are we going to do this? And Roken's like, well, I can't go crawling around in vents, yada, yada, yada. And Leia's like, I'm going to need a ladder. And I'm like, Vivian Lyra Blair, any role you want for the rest of your life, you should not need to audition for shit.
I know. It's so good. It's so cute.
Girl, so fucking good.
Love her.
Because it's just the right mix of like regal bearing, leadership, childish impetuance. Vivian, any role you want for the rest of your life should be yours. This is, I love her so much. I hate children, and I love Leia in this. I do love Obi-Wan standing up for Leia. When Roken's like, absolutely the fuck not. And Obi-Wan's like, like, do you trust me? Her. I trust her. That is Anakin Skywalker and Padme Amidala's kid.
He's like, I know exactly what they're capable of. Yeah.
You may not know who you're dealing with, but I know who I'm dealing with. And not only that, but Leia has proved herself to him time and time again. That she is, because if you remember, when he initially rescued her on Dayu, it was very, do what I say, don't make noise, don't talk, keep your head down, stay in line. And now he's like, yeah, just let her do what she wants. If she says she can help, she can help. So like, there's this relationship between them now that when they get to A New Hope and Luke says, I'm here with Ben Kenobi, and Leia freaks the fuck out. And it's like, Ben Kenobi is here? Where the fuck is he? So much more meaning. So much more meaning to that.
I need someone to do like an auto, like an audio like kind of dub over where like they can make their computer sound exactly like Leia, and they can be like, she just goes like, Ben Kenobi, where? I haven't seen him in 10 years since he rescued me on Javim, or you know what I mean? Like,
well, it's been 8.
Extra. So funny. Or 8 years since I've been on Javim.
Speaking of Leia, this has been pointed out in numerous episodes, but we have not pointed it out. However, I'm going to point it out here. Did you notice what her hair is doing?
Is it slowly going into little cross buns?
She has 2 braids hanging down from the back of her hair. And one of them is slipped down around her to the front of her shoulder. She has a Padawan braid.
I like that.
She has a little Padawan braid and has had one for 3 episodes.
God damn it, this rewatch is going to be so good.
Right? Right? So I get to marathon it for our retrospective, and then my boyfriend and I are currently watching through like Star Wars in order. We did the Rebellion era and we've jumped back to do the prequel era, we're in Clone Wars, I get to watch it for the retrospective, and then in a few weeks I get to watch it again with him. I'm so excited to just keep watching this show because this is so good.
I have a thought about that. So for the finale and both for the finale and the rewatch, so theoretically you can watch it all at once in a 5-hour block. Are you going to do a 5-hour block watch?
Absolutely the fuck yes. Absolutely the fuck yes. Absolutely.
That's dedication, people. That's dedication.
Well, I mean, we watched Book of Boba Fett all in one day.
Yeah.
And it vastly improved my experience watching Book of Boba Fett to just sit and watch it like one giant movie.
Interesting. I wonder,
a lot of the pacing make more sense in the first 4 episodes.
I'm wondering now, like, I kind of, on my side, I want to download all the episodes of Kenobi and then put them into like iMovie or something and cut out all the credits until the very end and see if I in the like the recaps and shit and just try to like edit into one movie and see if it works. Like if you could just without
I'll bet you it
break.
does. I'll bet you it does.
Like you just cut to the next scene. You cut to the next scene and then it just there's no like ending. I wonder how like good that would be with no pause in between.
Well, that's clearly how it's intended. The creators have said over and over again, like, we're making a 6-hour movie. We're making a 6-hour movie. And we all kind of looked at it and was like, girl, you're making TV. Just say you're making TV. Everybody's so scared of saying I'm making a TV show. And then we get the show and it's like, no, this really is like a 6-hour movie.
So, you know what?
Like we didn't get the Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, but we got it in 6 hours instead.
Well, this reminds me of Justice League, the Zack Snyder cut or whatever. I don't know if
the 4-hour where they
had the parts thrown in there. Yeah. But now, to be fair, that was garbage. But like, yeah, but they gave me the vibes of that. Like theoretically, it's like if you were to watch it, you could throw the part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5 in there, part 6. And then that way, like it would break up the action, but it would only be just like that little bit that just is like part 1. Like, and then it would just go into part 1. And then it would just, you know what I mean?
Well,
instead of just cutting it.
Well, it's like too, you could break up Lord of the Rings the same way. So if you watch the Lord of the Rings, the extended cuts, the correct versions, that's so big that it comes on 2 DVDs. So essentially, instead of watching 3 movies, you're watching kind of 6 half movies. And the thing about Lord of the Rings is that it's one continuous story. That's a thing that often gets, I think, forgotten in film circles. The story is one continuous story. It is not a movie and then a sequel and then the final one. So you can break it down that way. I honestly think Lord of the Rings would have made an excellent TV show if they had done it.
Well, you're in luck.
I know we're getting Rings of Power that is different. I will be watching it. I will have listeners. I have insinuated on this podcast that I have other obsessions besides Star Wars. Lord of the Rings was Return of the King is my favorite movie of all time. And there's a reason for that. So when Rings of Power comes out, I'm going to be insufferable.
Well, everyone, this is just announced by Charles that his new podcast, Gold Ring Gaze, is coming out soon to talk about the new Lord of the Rings show. Just kidding.
I'm doing fucking Sauron's Drag Race.
Oh, that's a good one too. I was trying to think of one that was more like on brand with what we already have, which is Gold Squadron. So I was like Gold Ring Gaze, LOL. But I do like Sauron's Drag Race. That's funny too.
Oh my god. So we do get Tala's backstory in this, and it is heartbreaking. I love her. I just the whole premise of a character who has done something awful because they thought they were doing the right thing and decides to use the power that they have to help others. And having that character be part of the reason that Obi-Wan regains his faith, essentially, and his willingness to help people and fight for people is so... I love her so much. She makes the little notches in her holster for every battle she survives. It's like, sweet, and then she gives the whole thesis statement of the show where she's like, you can't change the past, but you can fight to make things better, which Obi-Wan will eventually do in episode 4. I have a lot of feelings about this. I just have feelings.
So I love her and I love her scenes, but this was creeping into the territory of if you ever watch RuPaul's Drag Race, you know that in the workroom when the queens are getting ready for the final runway, if one queen starts talking about her past and her past trauma, that queen is going home that episode. And unfortunately, that's what Tala did here. She said, "Hey, here's why
here's my tragic
arc
backstory
started here. Yeah, and here's how I redeem myself. Oops. Oh, guess what's gonna happen this episode, guys? I'm gonna redeem myself." And that doesn't usually end well for people in Star Wars.
Well, it's also worth noting that adds a dimension to it because she redeems herself saving Force sensitive children. And what did she do in her backstory? She participated in genocide. When she did that, realizing at the time what she was doing, she dies preventing that genocide from continuing to this specific group of people, which I want a Tala book. I will write the Tala book. I will write it. I have been clear that my number one pitch is if I ever got in a room with Del Rey, the first thing I would pitch would be a Holdo novel, because I have a pitch for a Holdo novel. But I've got one for Tala cooking in my give it to me. I will write it. I will write it for you.
That'd be a good idea.
Me. Hire Del Rey, hire me.
And then I want Indira Pharma to do the audiobook.
Indira Pharma does the audiobook narration. Yeah. Yes. Do this. Do this.
It will sell 1 billion copies.
She does mention Gorel. Do you want to know about Gorel?
Yeah, sure.
Bradley, we've seen Gorel before.
Where have we seen it?
We have seen Gorel in Star Wars Rebels. Do you remember in season 2 where they have to leave Lothal at the end of season 1? Well, the beginning of season 2. And they're kind of running around looking for a new base, but they sort of have that planet that they're on all the way kind of up until it gets bombarded by the Empire. So it's the first kind of planet they're on. It shows up a lot in season 1 and 2. I've got the Wikipedia up. The planet where the third episode of season 1, where they have the one with C-3PO and R2, and they're stealing the disruptor rifles. That's Gorel. We spend a good chunk of season 2 there.
I guess it's just been a long time since I've seen Rebels, so I just have to go back and watch it.
Rebels fans will know what planet I'm talking about.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it is the planet from season 2 that they're on for a while, and then it gets bombarded. I thought it might be the site of the massacre that Mon Mothma calls Palpatine out on. That is not. That is the Gorman massacre. So slightly different. But Gorel is from the same show. It's from Rebels. Now, you know that's where Tala did a war crime. Game theory / film theory is, it is a guy who does like ridiculous theories about media, like Mario is a psychopath secretly, and then uses little obscure things to try to prove the theory. They had a video that raised the point, and I agree with it. Part of the backlash to The Last Jedi was after The Force Awakens, everyone had a theory about where it was going to go. And theorizing took over the internet space. And so when people saw the movie and it wasn't what they had theorized, they became really upset about it. And I think that we have to be careful when we're theorizing. It would be easy for me to say Reva knowing who Vader is because she saw him at the temple is dumb, and I didn't like it because I thought that she should have gotten the information from Obi-Wan and he betrayed Anakin to her. That would be something I could say, but it would be really fucking stupid for me to say. So when we theorize, is it what I thought? Is it my preferred theory? No. Is it fucking fantastic and excellent and puts everything into context and is exactly what a twist should be? Yes, 100%. Because, oh boy, does this change everything.
Yeah, now they do go a little bit deeper into it later on, but what we have now, you're like, huh. So Reva's not who we thought she was this whole time.
So Reva's backstory was this. Someone betrayed her and she got screwed over by someone in a position of authority, got found by the Inquisitors, and now has ambition. And we thought the person in the position of authority who screwed her over was the Jedi, and her ambition was to be a Sith. Turns out the person who screwed her over was Anakin fucking Skywalker. And her ambition is to kill Anakin fucking Skywalker.
Revenge does good for the body.
Well, here's the good thing about it, this twist though, right? Because it doesn't change anything about her character. it recontextualizes her character. A good twist doesn't just come out of nowhere. A good twist makes you look back at everything that happened before it and go, that explains that. Empire Strikes Back. In Empire Strikes Back, the big twist is spoilers for The Empire Strikes Back, which came out in 1970 or 81 or whenever it came out, or was it 80? I forget. Vader is Luke's father. When we come into that movie and Vader's like super obsessed with finding Luke, like that's his whole thing. Like he is obsessed with finding the pilot who killed the Death Star. We think the whole movie that he just wants to find him because he's super powerful. And then when we learn that Vader is Luke's father, it recontextualizes everything we saw in the movie. And we're like, oh, that's why he's obsessed with him, because it's his fucking kid. This Reva twist is the same way, and I love it.
Well, what I like too is, like you said, recontextualize. If you go back to the first episode and Reva's like, why are we hunting these small ass weak Jedis? Like, why aren't we going after the big fish? And it makes you think like, why does she want to go after bigger fish? But she, as an Inquisitor, she should be happy with just taking down any Jedi, because that's all their job is, right? It's just hunting Jedi and Force users. So you're just like, anybody is fine.
She needs Vader's attention. She needs to draw Vader out so she can kill him.
And the fact that she knew who Anakin was this whole time, knowing his backstory, she knew who his Padawan was, because it's not like it's a secret. So she could be like, huh.
She fucking calls him on it.
Right.
She calls him on it in this scene. She's like, he's your Padawan. Where were you?
You abandoned
riding
him.
A lizard halfway across the galaxy. And that's part of the
being
issue.
Assassinated. That's what I was doing.
Well, that's the thing with Revenge of the Sith. Palpatine orchestrates a situation to get Obi-Wan off of Coruscant. He specifically engineers a situation where Obi-Wan is sent out, but Anakin has to stay behind. So that is because if Obi-Wan was there, he would have put a stop to it, and Anakin would have listened to him. But so shout out to the Galactic Pod, to those ladies over there. They were the only podcast that I listened to who successfully literally called this exact twist. Literally called it, like down to she is trying to kill Vader. She is rising through the ranks to get close to Vader so she can kill him. At the time I listened to that, I was like, that's such an interesting theory. And then I watched the episode and I specifically tweeted out that morning, so apropos of nothing, you should be listening to the Galactic Pod. They're very good. I actually do want to return to that do you really want Anakin dead line that she says to him. Because what's really heartbreaking about that line is he will. He doesn't yet, but by Return of the Jedi, he's arguing with Luke, like, you need to kill Vader. There's no other way. He can't be redeemed. You need to kill him. So that's an additional heartbreaking dimension to this scene. Do you feel good, Bradley?
Well, I was going to say too, and also recontextualize too a little bit, like, you have somebody like Kenobi who has this true familial, essentially, connection to Anakin. And at the end of Return of the Jedi, he's like, nah, just kill him. There's no other way. And then his own son, Anakin's own son, who does not know him other than being a guy who has tried to kill him twice, is like, nah, I can redeem him. Like, he deserves a chance.
Nah, I can fix him.
Right. That's so weird to me that like somebody like that barely knows Vader. He barely knows Vader.
Well, he believes in him is the thing.
Right.
That's the difference, is that Luke by that point is the only person who really believes in Vader, believes in Anakin, believes there's something in there. Obi-Wan's given up. And it's heartbreaking watching this scene of him struggling to hold on to that when we know he's going to give it up eventually. So the reason we have the content warning at the start of the episode is that Anakin sure straight up murders some fucking kids on screen.
No, that didn't happen. That's not a thing.
Yeah, I know it's shocking, but they went there. Well, I want to talk about that. So I want to talk about Order 66 as portrayed in legends and other media. Because oftentimes in media, the actual action of Order 66 focuses on the adults.
Right.
And there's I can't remember, I wasn't going to say their name anyway, but I saw a really bad take that was like, One thing I want out of the Obi-Wan Kenobi show is I really just want to see Anakin going ham in the Jedi Temple and like killing all the masters and knights and Padawans. Doesn't mention younglings specifically, right. But like, because when we saw Order 66 and the attack on the temple, a lot of times it was adults or teenagers that were being targeted, right. Being shown to be targeted. Like if you go play through the games, if you play through, if you read through any of the things, it's mostly adult. A lot of times the kids are shown as escaping. Maybe younglings will escape, but the master dies or something like that.
Right,
like we almost saw at the start of this series.
The series, yeah.
The only piece of media thus far to really hammer home that there were fucking children in this temple and those children murdered was Revenge of the Sith. Because Revenge of the Sith was making the point, this genocide, which I'm going to keep using that word because that is what this is. The genocide of the Jedi Order targeted everybody. And that is what these exterminations do. They will come for everyone. They will not just come for the adults. They will not just come for the older teenagers. They're coming for kids too. Obi-Wan Kenobi follows that on by showing us the horror of Order 66.
Right.
By showing this young girl losing all of her friends and watching them get murdered and then having to lie in their dead bodies so long she feels the bodies go cold.
When she said that line, I was like, where's the Emmy for Best Actress?
The awards now.
In a drama?
Give them all to Jesus.
I was like, it was so good. I was so shook because I was like, not only were we getting like true backstory, I will say though, confirmation wise, I looked it up. This episode and the first episode, all the Padawans are the same actors. So it is the same group of kids. So
it is the same group of kids.
Yep. So that little black girl in the very first episode, that's Reva.
That was Reva.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I love it because it is a demonstration of the horror, the sort of side themes of this show, the horror of living through and after an extermination of your people and how that trauma affects people in different ways.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan is dealing with it. Tala is dealing with it. Roken is dealing with it. And Reva is dealing with it. The person who's not dealing with it is the person that was doing it and is continuing to do it, which is Vader. Just love the inversion of what people think Order 66 is, which is this Anakin is badass and killing all of the Jedi, right, versus what media is showing Order 66 to be, which is Order 66 was fucking horrifying and disgusting and vile. And you should feel horrified when you look at it.
I want to bring up a tiny mini tangent.
Okay.
So someone I was talking to was talking about how it doesn't look great for Reva at the end of this show, but if by some chance she does survive, someone brought it to my attention that there are a lot of similarities between Reva and the Ronin character in the Star Wars Visions comic series or
interesting
show. And I thought that would make a really good show if it was just about Reva being like that Ronin-like characters hunting other Sith.
Hold on, now, Bradley, have you read the novel Ronin by Emma Miko Camden?
It's on my audiobooks, in the queue. I haven't purchased it yet, but it's on my next couple purchases.
Skip that bitch up the queue.
Okay.
Skip that bitch up the queue. First of all, it is the gayest Star Wars book. Second gayest. Midnight Horizon has actually beaten it now. Most queer characters in a single Star Wars work. There is only one straight cis man, and he is a villain in the book. It's so good. But I would be interesting to hear you read that book and then come back and address that point, because we learn things about the Ronin in that book. The last kind of note that I have here is I just want to shout out Ewan McGregor's acting.
Oh, okay.
I mean, the whole show is just one giant shout out to Ewan McGregor for your acting.
It's kind of like a love letter to him.
In this scene when he's listening to this and his face, sir, shout out to you just for your brilliant acting. He's glorious. So good.
Once inside the base, a gun battle ensues between the Empire and the Path fighters. Kenobi joins the fight, but the Empire pushes through. The fighters retreat, and during the fight, Tala is hit and falls to the ground. Ned B uses his body as a shield to protect her, but to help Kenobi retreat, she pulls out a detonator, sacrificing herself to stop the advance. In the flashback scene, Skywalker drives Kenobi to the edge of the balcony and tells his master to admit he's been beaten.
There is an actual Battle of Jabeem that I am watching on my TV screen. And as someone who invested in Legends as hard as I did, I never thought that I would see an actual Battle of Jabeem. Yeah, it's not exactly the same one as it was in the comics, but there's a Battle of Jabeem and I'm watching it and I think that's cool. And it's a really good battle. It's a chaotic, pitched battle. There's blaster bolts flying everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
They're in the tunnel, so they're forcing the stormtroopers to bottleneck in as they're sort of retreating. I love that two of the guys have shields and the shields actually work. They're absorbing the blaster bolts. You can see them. The shields actually work, which I think is cool. Okay. I didn't want to talk about this part.
I tried to make it as quick and painless as possible.
So in episode 3, I believe it's Tala says about Ned B, actions speak louder than words. Ned B doesn't speak a single word in this, but his final action is shielding Tala with his dead, deactivated body so that she can pull the trigger on the detonator. And Indira Varma, her face, her acting, her desperation, her pain in this scene, when she reaches out to touch him and then touches her wound. And it's clear that she knows what she's going to. She's one of my favorite actresses. And this is a scene that I'm going to point to as to why. Look at this performance. Look at how good this is.
I was also getting I guess I was getting triggered in flashback to Rogue One when K2SO sacrifices himself.
Yeah. I think we're all traumatized by K2SO.
Just robots dying and droids dying in Star Wars. It's just traumatic for me.
Droids dying is sad.
Why are we so triggered? I don't understand.
Because we had to watch L3 die. We had to watch
it's so true.
K2 die, and now we have to watch Ned B die.
Why are they killing off the newer, more interesting character-driven droids?
Look, Chopper's still alive. Chopper's going to be in Ahsoka.
But he's also a murderer, so that's why he's probably being kept alive.
Yeah, but he's my murderer. Listen to me, Dave. I'm talking directly to you motherfucker. If you kill Chopper in the Ahsoka show, I will do nothing because I am a very respectful fan of your work. But I will cry 4 days and wail and gnash my teeth. Dave, don't do it, Dave. So when the flashback scene, when they're fighting, and the flashback scene's very obviously parallel,
right, to the action that we're seeing.
I'm not going to dwell on that too much because we could break down every single fight scene in this and how it parallels the episode. In this one, Anakin gets the upper hand because he knows Kenobi. In the present, Vader gets the upper hand because he knows Kenobi better than Reva does. And Kenobi outwits him by using his own weapon against him. Reva. Vader even says later on, he was wise to use you against me. How does Obi-Wan beat Anakin in the flashback? He force pulls his own weapon to him. It's parallels. It's like poetry. It rhymes. Right. It's good fucking directing and writing. But I do want to point out some of the moves that they're using are from the episode 3 fight, particularly in this segment of the flashback that I noticed. All right, let's move on from this section before I start crying. Indira Varma, I love you so much. You're so good.
Believing that they have lost, Kenobi decides to surrender himself to Vader. Kenobi is brought to Reva, who informs Vader of Kenobi's capture. Kenobi reiterates his plan to Reva. Back in the flashback, the two resume fighting. Skywalker manages to knock the lightsaber out of Kenobi's hand. Kenobi warns his Padawan that his need for victory blinds him. Back in the present, Vader arrives and seeks Kenobi out himself.
So Obi-Wan really just does pull there are alternatives to fighting. He says there are different ways to fight, but he really just pulls there are alternatives to fighting. I love that. One thing I also love that is kind of a callback. So remember we talked about how each episode has parallels to the corresponding episode of the Skywalker saga.
Yes.
So I will note that a good portion of the plot of this episode finds someone trying to repair a mechanical device while being pursued by the Empire, and specifically Darth Vader. We've heard this plot before. I will also point out that there are shocking revelations in this episode. I just noted that when Leia was down spending a bunch of the episode fixing the stuff, it was a parallel to Han having to fix the Falcon, and that being the overarching plot of Empire is that they have to fix the Falcon while being chased around. Moses Ingram, I have no notes.
It's the subtle
perfection.
Acting.
It's the subtle acting. When you see it, when you see it on like the TV screen or the computer screen, and you can really appreciate the subtle acting. No notes. Perfect. Literally perfect. Speaking of literally perfect acting, in the flashback scene when Anakin disarms Obi-Wan, do you see his little smile? He does the same little cocky smile that he does in Revenge of the Sith.
Hayden Christensen has been the object of many fantasies for the past 11 years.
Oh my, and this is going to fuel more of them.
That's right.
This is going to fuel more of them. No, he does the little like smile that he does. Like he does it in like the cockpit. He does it when he's looking at Padme. He does it when he's really happy. And he does it when he's looking at Obi-Wan. And Hayden, sir, again, no notes. So one question that I had in episode 4 was, how did Reva manage to reprogram Lola essentially just by holding her?
So I guess we can talk about this now. The only thing I noticed was at the end when Leia finds her, it's just a restraining bolt on Lola.
It's just a restraining bolt. She slapped a restraining bolt on Lola.
So it must be either a pre-programmed thing or something. It's a
pre-programmed thing.
Yeah, it has to be, because it was just like, it just doesn't make any sense.
So I could have asked that last week, but I didn't, because I was taking my own advice and keeping watching to see if they would show us.
Explain to us.
Lo and behold, they showed us, slapped on a restraining bolt that sort of got in and turned Lola over, and that's how she was able to do it, just by holding Lola. Very happy Lola is back.
Yeah, I thought we theorized that she was going to get destroyed when they found out that she was thing, but thankfully no. So I think she survived.
Hasbro can keep selling Lola toys.
I think that's exactly why they didn't kill her, because they were like, if we kill this droid and we just made 4 different animatronic toys of this dumbass fucking flying robot.
A whole crate of them at Celebration, just a whole glass case of them.
I'm like, there's no way. I know there's even a plush coming out. There's even like, they are going to milk this Lola thing dry. I can feel it. Meanwhile, Kenobi breaks free of the stormtroopers and heads back to the base. Leia discovers Lola was the cause of the hangar problems and frees her from Imperial control. The refugees board the ship and prepare for launch. Vader forces his way inside the hangar bay. He uses the Force to grab Roken's freighter, preventing the ship from ascending and forcing it to the ground. He rips the ship apart only to find that it is an empty decoy. The Pathfighters and refugees escape on a second freighter while Vader watches in fury. Back in the past, Kenobi breaks free of Skywalker in the sparring match and uses the Force to grab his Padawan's lightsaber. Kenobi tells Skywalker that he is a great warrior, but that his need to prove himself is his undoing.
Sorry, editing, Bradley. I got to Lola early because I really wanted to get to the Vader sequence.
That's fine. You know what? It works, because now we can just talk about the Vader sequence, because
Jesus
that is so
Christ.
Fucking intense.
Oh my God.
This was giving me that same feeling when you see the Vader hallway scene for the first time, like in Rogue One. This was almost like that level of just sheer, like, not, I don't want to say panic, but like it makes you feel something, like just joy, like a panicky joy. You're just like, like he's using his like rage right here. Like,
well, here's something I want to point out that's really interesting about this sequence. Vader is struggling. He is grunting with exertion. It is difficult for him to hold this thing back. He is pouring all of his rage and his hatred for Kenobi into holding this ship back, forcing it down and ripping the fucking thing open.
When that happened.
Like making the ripping movements with his hands to like tear the ship apart. And I'm like, yes, but also that was Obi-Wan's plan. Like the parallel between the flashbacks and the present, Obi-Wan says you need to prove yourself, and you'll always be a learner, essentially. And we'll get to that in just a second.
Yeah.
But here we see that Vader walked in, went for the first transport he saw taking off, which clearly they had set to autopilot, tired himself out trying to take it down, and then the ship took off.
Which again is all part of the plan.
Yep. So the plan was clearly, don't get in this ship. Vader's coming. Everybody pile into this ship. We're going to let the first one take off. And while Vader is tearing it apart, trying to get to us, because his anger is going to blind him to which ship we're on, then we're going to escape.
It parallels the scene from Rise of Skywalker where Rey does the same thing with the ship with Chewie on it. She doesn't realize that he's not on the ship that she pulls down because she's
so
just
obsessed
distraught
with getting it back and so distraught. Yeah, see, it's sequel trilogy fans. You are fed with this. Like,
yeah, just throw a Darth Vader skin on it, and they're like, "Wow, it's amazing." But if a woman does the same thing, she's
exactly. It's how can she do that?
Right. She's too strong. She's too OP if she can do that.
She shouldn't be able to pull ships down from orbit. But if Darth Vader does, it's like, wow, that's so cool. If a fucking bald, pasty white guy pulls a Star Destroyer down out of the sky, it's like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. But a woman makes a rock move and suddenly she's OP. Okay. Yeah, I see you there.
Anyways, this was an amazing scene. Love this.
Oh my God. Well, so I love the core lesson being, and kind of the core overall thing with Vader up until this point, is that he still has a need to prove himself by winning against Kenobi. And until he learns that he doesn't need to prove himself, he will continue to be a learner. So it's possible this is what they're going for when he delivers the line, "When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master." It's possible that when they meet again at the Death Star, Vader has gotten much more control over his own emotion.
Right. He's still technically Anakin here. Yeah. It's
the Vader we see by this. Yeah. That's another way to look at it. Maybe he's too much of Anakin Skywalker here.
Right.
And he's killed more of that. Yeah. Because the Vader we see by the time of A New Hope throughout the new canon has settled pretty well into his role by the time of A New Hope. And afterwards, he sort of gets shit on for a while. And then, he discovers that Luke Skywalker is his son. And that is the point where he's like, oh, we're about to have a problem.
Back in the present, Reva attempts to attack a distracted Vader, but he uses the Force to block her. They fight, but the Sith Lord gains the upper hand. Reva is haunted by the memories of Vader killing her fellow younglings, and she is stabbed by Vader. A revived Grand Inquisitor walks in and joins them, lamenting that revenge can fuel the will to live. The pair depart and leave Reva on the ground.
So you know how we don't normally go at fight scenes with a minute level of detail, because that's not really what we do on this show. Neither of us are really fight choreographers. There's a lot that fighting can say, but it's not on us to sort of analyze, yada, yada. Yeah, fuck that. So I'm about to go into some intense detail on this one single fight sequence.
Let's do it. There's so many different
because I fucking love this so much. There's so much coming into tie-in in this one sequence. Yeah. Like Vader dodging Reva's moves to fuck with her exactly the same way that Luke is dodging Kylo's moves on Crate to fuck with him. Like it's the same movements, like the same kind of dodging around. Like it's poetry, it rhymes. Like how much time he just spends fucking with her. Like he's blocking the lightsaber with his hand, with his fucking hand, with the Force. He is blocking this lightsaber. What the fuck? And then she tries to use the spinning thing. He stops it from spinning and pulls it to him, breaks it in half, and just tosses half of it. Let her let's go.
He's like, here you go. Now let's keep going. Yeah, I'm not done yet.
By all means, get up. Come on. Let's go.
And honestly, seeing him rip it apart was good too. I know that they come apart. That's not something that it doesn't do, but it's just interesting that when he did it, it was such a cool move of being I have the two blades into two separate blades in my hands. And he's like, nah, but I only need one. Here you go.
Well, here's the other thing too, is that we've seen these lightsabers are difficult to fight against for lightsaber to lightsaber combat. They're double bladed. they spin, they break apart. They're very versatile. They're designed to kill force wielders and lightsaber users. Vader just brushes aside like it's nothing.
Yeah, he's like, nah, the spinning thing is annoying. Stop doing
that. Nah. And then this motherfucker disarms Reva. The lightsaber gets knocked to the ground. He pulls it to him. He is double wielding the lightsabers, and he pulls it up into a stance where they are both pointed forward and one is slightly above the other. Does that stance look familiar to you, Bradley?
Enlighten us.
That is the same stance that Ahsoka uses.
Oh, okay.
That is Ahsoka's double-bladed stance, particularly I saw a side-by-side of that and her stance when she's about to fight Maul in Siege of Mandalore.
Yeah.
It's a little different, but it's effectively the same stance. So he's using the move that he probably taught Ahsoka. So there's our big Ahsoka references. Vader briefly holds twin lightsabers in Ahsoka's ready stance. Deborah, literally whatever you want. I trust you. I trust Deborah Chow to do a Thrawn series.
Honestly, I think that would be a good idea. Like, do it the exact same way
Thrawn
as this.
To Deborah Chow.
Yeah.
Give him to Deborah Chow. All right.
I kind of love it.
Deborah Chow, do Thrawn stuff.
Just do God, 5 season, show just about Thrawn. That would be great.
Thanks. Everybody like loves Dave Filoni and loves Jon Favreau, and they're both great. But in terms of like sheer raw directing, Deborah Chow, where the fuck, like she's up there with Bryce Dallas Howard and Rian Johnson for me. In terms
I was gonna say about Bryce. I was
your ability to direct a scene, unbelievable, unfucking believable. And then the Grand Inquisitor just walks up.
The best part of the whole episode.
Hello.
Hi. I bet you thought you saw the last of me.
He really straight up pulled a surprise, bitch.
Right.
I bet you thought you'd seen the last of me.
Definitely Ryan Murphy-esque. I was getting the vibe.
Like we knew he was gonna come back, but just the way they did it, where he just walks up and he's like, "Hi, I'm not dead."
Right. Bet you thought I was.
Mm-hmm. Almost like your own ambition blinded you.
Don't choke on your aspirations, Reva.
Maybe check to make sure they're dead first, Reva.
Right. But okay,
make sure they don't have 2 stomachs.
Wait, you just said that. Make sure to check if they're dead first. And then these 2 motherfuckers just walk away, leaving her
they just leave
alive on the ground.
Because she's not worth killing.
That blows my mind because she's
not worth killing.
She's no longer like worthy of our time, not even worthy of killing. Like, we just leave you on this planet all by yourself.
Who's she a threat to?
Right.
Nobody. Not them.
She's a failure. She's lucky they left her alive. Genius.
Because that is such a Vader thing to do.
And I almost think he does it on purpose, thinking like, oh great, if they're gonna have revenge against me, great. That's my next Thursday appointment.
Because here's the thing. If she just dies, she's taken care of.
Right. If
she fucks off, he never has to see her again. If she's able to harness enough rage and hatred to get close to him again, she's worth paying attention to. It's just like Reva in episode 4. Any way this situation goes, Vader wins. Mm-hmm.
Glorious. And finally, aboard Roken's ship, he tells Kenobi that their hyperdrive is down and that the Empire is in pursuit. Kenobi suspects something else is wrong when he can't find his holoprojector. On Jabeam, Reva is crawling through the sand and finds Kenobi's holoprojector and intercepts Organa's message about Luke on Tatooine. We see him sleeping soundly at the Lars homestead for now.
So Roken mentions the hyperdrive is down. It's an interesting line. The meaning of that is that they're going to have to travel at sublight speeds.
Right.
So in addition to dangers, it's much easier for the Empire to follow them. Among other things, I looked at the galaxy, at what galaxy map I could get. And I couldn't get a really good detailed map in time to record this episode. However, Jabeam is in the Outer Rim. Tatooine is also in the Outer Rim. It is entirely possible they will travel at sublight speeds to Tatooine. I think that's unlikely, but that is a possibility. that's where they're going with that, is that they will have to land on Tatooine.
I was thinking kind of more so in the vein of Riva somehow is going to find a ship with a hyperdrive, go to Tatooine first, then
Kenobi, I do think that also will happen.
And then that way, since they're doing sublight to Tatooine, like they can have their whole showdown and everything with Vader and dealing with the Empire and stuff. And then everybody thinks everything's good to go, and then it's just like, oh, we're on Tatooine now. Riva's another problem.
Oh my god, I just realized that the rematch between Vader and Kenobi might happen on Tatooine.
Yeah, I mean, maybe,
because I have this poster, right, and it's the image of, do you remember the shot of Vader, and he's just ignited the lightsaber and Obi-Wan's kind of underneath it from episode 3. It's the very first time Vader ignites his lightsaber. It's that shot, but it's not on Mapuzo. It appears to be on Tatooine. And there's also giant billboards. I live in Los Angeles. We get a lot of billboards, and the billboards have shown Vader standing on what looks like a cliff on Tatooine.
Right. I have seen that.
So it is possible that this final fight will happen on Tatooine, because in Legends, Vader was so traumatized that he couldn't set foot on the surface. He has no such limitations in canon. He has been to Tatooine before.
I like it. I like the final showdown on Tatooine. That makes sense, because I was trying to figure out how they were going to reconcile this Riva storyline now that they've thrown this out there, that she somehow knows that this is Anakin's kid, because I feel like she's smart enough to figure that out. People didn't give her the benefit of the doubt last time, so now I'm giving it to her.
Well, she knows something's up with the kids.
Right.
She knows, and more importantly, she knows, one, Owen lied to her.
Right, because they just said Owen family.
Owen lied to her. And two, Owen's family is much more important to Obi-Wan Kenobi. So I don't think she's going after Luke to get at Vader. I think she's going after Luke to pull Kenobi back.
Oh, interesting. I was just reading I think it's in the Wikipedia, it explicitly says Riva discovers Anakin Skywalker's son is on Tatooine.
Yeah, they don't say that in the episode.
Right. No, that's what I'm saying. I think it was supposed to, I don't know if they were just inferring that that's what she came to.
I believe Wikipedia is inferring. I think this might be a rare occasion of Wikipedia actually being wrong.
Gotcha. Well, I think it's also early because the final episode hasn't aired, so we don't know like what she knows. All she knows is something important.
All she knows is there are children who are important to Obi-Wan. One of them is Owen Lars' kid, and so she is going to go back because that bitch Owen Lars lied to her face, and she's going to go after Luke. Because the final shot of the episode is Luke. And we were like, Luke isn't in the series at all. He's in one shot in the first episode. Nope. Luke's coming back. Luke's coming back in a major way.
I for a second there, I was like, oh, what if they do a scene where Luke and Leia like meet each other? And I was like, no, they're not going to do that.
Won't.
They can't do that. But I just like, for some reason, I thought just like, you're like, oh yeah, Luke hasn't been in the show yet. I was like, yeah, you're right. He hasn't been in the show technically. And it's like, oh wait, shit. What if they accidentally make them? Right. It is the Leia show.
So our final shot is of Luke Skywalker asleep. Nothing bad will happen to him in the immediate future.
Yeah, they're like, you can just say that like, oh no, 10 years goes by and now we start the next movie. Like
no, I'll just move right into my final thoughts. Give me the fucking finale, like right now.
Oh my god, I can't believe we have to wait.
Oh my god, I've heard through the grapevine it's like an hour and a half. So RIP to our episode.
I know. I mean, this is only the pre-finale episode, and then
this is about 38 minutes long, and 40 minutes long, and we've been at this for an hour 40. So
yeah.
Rip to our finale time. But my final thoughts are, give me the finale right now, because if that was the Dark Night of the Soul, I need to know what that finale is.
Yeah.
Give me the climax now, immediately in my face.
And you know what? I guess, I don't know if you have anything else. My final thoughts would be like, I'm glad that we got what we got from Riva's backstory and her character arc and stuff here. I'm glad that they didn't also cheapen her death by just being like, okay, well now we're done with you. Let's kill you here. And then like your whole entire point of being doesn't make any sense. Like you're like, okay, she's only in the first couple episodes, and then like they kill her for no reason. I'm glad they didn't do that. I'm glad that she survives for now. I don't necessarily
I don't
know
think she's going to make it out of the finale.
Yeah, I don't know if she's going to make it, but hey, you know what? If she does, we'll see.
All right. Well, that's it for this week. Bradley, go ahead and run the social so we can get to the finale quicker.
Thank you for listening to Gold Squadron Gaze.
Did Charles fuck something up? Email us and let us know at goldsquadrongaze@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter at goldsquadgaze, and you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at goldsquadrongaze. Subscribe to us on YouTube at Gold Squadron Gaze, where we post this podcast as well as exclusive video content.
Please join us next week and every week for another episode of Gold Squadron Gaze. I'm sure we can go through a whole entire.
I'm sure we can
naming gay-themed Lord of the Rings podcast.
You know, one cock ring to rule them all. I don't know. I broke Bradley.
I'm cutting that out and putting that in the bonus.
He fell over.